Hey, Richters, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. Really help the show out. We need those subscribers and we need those reviewers. And I am having an horrible hair day. I apologize. Uh, man, do I look like John Cusack right now? God, man, I look like Bill Murray from Groundhog Day. Anyways, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. We got a great show today. I'm very excited. I've been trying to get this guest forever. I know I say that a lot, but this guest I have literally been trying to get forever. He's one of my favorite character actors. You know him from Rush Hour. You know him from Tin Cup, Breakdown, Cliffhanger, like all these great movies. They go on and on. And he's on this new TV show, Happy's Place. It's called Happy's Place. And season three is about to come out. I'm very excited. You also know him from Better Call Saul. I loved him in that. I mean, the Jack Bull, which is probably one of the best John Cusack movies out there. He was in that. And I'm just so fascinated with him. So I'm really excited to talk to him, get to know him, and I'm excited for you guys to get to know him too. So subscribe, rate, review on Apple Podcasts. Tell a friend. If it's mean feedback, give me courtesy feedback on how to get better. You know. All right, guys. Reza Rifts with Rex Linn coming up next.
From Hollywood, California, welcome to Reza Rifts with your host, Keith Reza.
Hi, Rex Linn.
What's happening?
How are you?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I
Oh,
got a cold, a real bad cold. Trying to fight it a little bit. So if I sound congested or snotty,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, do you want to reschedule or are you good to talk?
hell no. Are
Oh,
you
okay,
kidding?
okay.
No.
Okay, I
By the way,
understand.
is that a Tyrannosaurus Rex you've got on your chest right there?
Jurassic Park. Yeah, I like Jurassic Park.
How's everything going?
It's going good. So good to talk to you. Thank you so much for saying yes. I'm a big fan of yours, so this is an honor.
Oh, thank you. Listen, my apologies about the time it's taken to do this, but can I just say I loved your cameo?
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
The most creative way. I was like, first of all, it made me feel terrible. I was
Oh
like,
my God, that was not the point. I'm
no,
so
no,
sorry.
no, no. It made me feel terrible in a good way. I was like, oh man, you know what? I forgot to email him back. I was going to email you back because we've been traveling. I was going to email you back and go, hey, I got like 2 weeks open here, and I forgot. I had a senior moment, which happens,
Yeah.
and I forgot. And then I get a cameo request, and I looked and I went, now that's the best way ever to get to remind me. And I just smiled. And so,
Oh, okay. That was the
you know,
point. Yeah, I did. It wasn't meant to make anyone feel terrible. Just, I
no.
have Asperger's syndrome, so like I don't see social cues very well. So
Uh-huh.
like I don't know if you were getting the emails or not, and I know Miss Barr could have been busy. So like then I just thought, okay, I might as well just DM you on Cameo, but I couldn't DM you. It said I had to book you, so I was like, yeah, I'll just book you. That's all. That's all I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where are you?
I'm in Huntington Beach, California.
I'll be danged, man.
Yeah.
Is it hot? Because at home, Sherman Oaks, California,
Yeah.
I just got a little warning on my phone that says we got in Sherman Oaks, we got a heat alert,
Really?
heat
Oh,
advisory. Yeah.
well, maybe I got that alert, but I care more about talking to Rex Linn than alerts.
I like it, baby.
Uh, so Rex, we might go back and forth a little, but I find this a little fascinating because in a way, it kind of connects to your past. So before you became a famous, right? You worked at a bank, and one of your first acting jobs, you were on Unsolved Mysteries, and you played a bank robber, Terry Lynn Coroner, which a lot of people, they could Google now, but back then it was kind of like, oh, it was word of mouth. Who is
It
this
was a
guy?
big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And he robbed banks. So like
Yeah.
it kind of like connects you in a way, right?
Yeah. It was weird. That are we on now on the podcast?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So, so funny you bring this up, man. The guy that played Joseph Doherty, okay, the
Uh,
actor that played his partner, that played Terry's partner. I mean, didn't play him. The real life bank robber, the guy I was playing, his partner was Joseph.
uh,
The actor playing him was a friend of mine in Oklahoma City. That's where we filmed it. We weren't in Los Angeles then. Uh, Joseph Doherty. So he really looked like him, Keith. He literally looked like him. So we had to. They're only paying us. I think they paid us $50. I think at
yeah.
that. So we were in Oklahoma City filming at the El Reno Federal Prison where they both escaped on their way to court, federal court in Oklahoma City, which is about a 40-minute drive. That's when they got these marshals and had them, they stole their gun. One of them had a pen. He then did his handcuffs. Anyway, they got him over and they tied him up to a tree. Didn't kill him, thank God. And then they took off.
Yeah.
Well, they took off. When they took off, they drove up to Seattle. So we flew to Seattle to do the second half of this show
For $50.
a day. So it might have been 75. Uh, but anyway, we go up to this bank. All right.
Uh,
John Hendricks is the actor that's playing Joseph Doherty.
okay.
We get to the bank. We're filming nights. So this was a thing where, see, these two guys would at night go to the president of the bank to his home and kidnap them
Oh my gosh.
at night. Then they would get the key. They take the president to the bank at 4 or 5 in the morning, 2 hours before it opens up, and they would go in there and rob the bank. That's how they did things. That's it.
Yeah.
They became obviously notorious and infamous. They were number one on the FBI most wanted list. Anyway, they'd go to the president's house, unfortunately, even if there were kids there, and they'd hold them hostage, and then they would take all of them to the bank. And so we were filming nights. But at this bank, uh, we were filming where we brought the bank president in, and so it was dark. So John and I, it's funny now. At the time, it was really creepy.
Okay.
John and I are standing outside the bank, and the
Okay.
movie crew's in there. They're setting up a new camera lens over in the corner, and they had security there. They had Seattle police officers, three of them off duty, two of them pulled by. They wanted to see if there was anybody famous filming in the bank. So it was one of those things. So there's like five cops. Well, one of them kept staring at Hendricks,
Oh my gosh.
and he kept staring at him. In his mind, we found out later, but he was thinking, I would not put this past Joseph Doherty to come here and act as an actor because these guys were smart. They were
Right.
not dumbasses. And he keeps staring at John. Well, John goes inside, and I'm standing outside. John goes inside to get a cup of coffee. And I'm just standing out, and I'm looking at the dialogue, what my dialogue is. And he goes, Hey, who's your buddy there? That's what he asked me. He said, Who's your buddy there? And I went, You mean the actor? He goes, Well, who's your buddy?
Yeah.
I said, Well, he's John Hendricks. And he said, Are you sure?
Yeah.
I said, What are you talking about? He goes, I just asking, Are you sure? It kind of got, at that point, my heart rate started going up a little bit. I'm thinking, This guy's not even smiling at me or anything. And I said, I don't know what your question is. He said, Are you sure that's John Hendricks? I
Yeah.
said, Yeah, is that a trick question? He said, No. And I said, Yes, I'm sure. Well, John walks out right then. He went over, John didn't. The police went over, talked to another police officer. He came back over and he asked John to go inside the bank.
Uh-huh.
Keith, they made him take his pants down or roll his pant leg up because
Uh-huh.
Gordy had a tattoo on his kneecap, his left kneecap.
Okay.
One of them, one of his right or left kneecap, whichever it was. He wanted him to roll his pants up or pull his pants down so he could see his kneecap.
Oh my gosh.
And John goes, "What's going on?" Now, John is a guy that just doesn't put up with a lot of bullshit.
Right.
John goes, "I don't know what's going on here." Then the director comes in. Then the producers from ABC, I think it was ABC, was the network. Anyway, they all come in and go, what's going on here? I want to see this guy's kneecap.
Uh-huh.
And they said, why? Cause I may, this may be Joseph Doherty. They go, no, dude, this is an actor from Oklahoma City. I want to see his knee. Well, anyway, John had to show his kneecap. So,
Oh my God.
but the reason I'm telling you the story, and you just brought that up, I haven't talked to John in 10 years. And day before yesterday, I get a text and he goes, "Hey, Lovey." That's all he put. So I texted him and we got on the phone, started talking.
Yeah.
And we were reminded of this. We talked about that. And then the other thing that happened on that, and then I'll get off of it. It
No,
was
no,
our
no.
first
This is great.
job. It was our first job ever. We're in the back of the Marshal's car. We're handcuffed. We got two actors in front that are playing the U.S. Marshals.
Yeah.
We got two cars filming. Both we had the Oklahoma Highway Patrol cutting traffic off. We're John Hendricks, and he's going to be mad as hell at me telling this. He looked over at me. He goes, "The walkie-talkie. I was communicating with the director. He was in,
Okay.
he was in the camera truck ahead of us. We're on I-40, Interstate 40." John looks over at me. He goes, "Brother, I got an issue." I said, see, and they were treating us like we were green actors, and we were the rawest, greenest, terrible actors.
Well, it's your first job, so don't you? I
Yeah, it
mean,
was. And I
yeah,
was
yeah,
nervous. And I was playing a real guy
yeah, yeah.
who was still at large. Okay.
Right.
So anyway, John goes, "I got an issue right now, and I need you to communicate it in the best way you can." I said, "What's wrong?" He goes, "I got to pull over." I said, "You got to pee?" He goes, "No, I've got diarrhea." I said, "What?" We can't. And then I saw the two actors in the front driving. They were doing this. You could see their shoulders doing that. I go, "You please tell me you're kidding."
Right.
I mean, call him right now and tell him we got to get off at the next exit on I-40. Ironically, the director's name was John. So I get on, I go, "John, this is Rex." He goes, "What?" And I went, "Joseph Doherty here in the back." I was trying to be light, about it. I said, "Joseph Doherty here in the back. We got to get off at the next exit. He has to make it a little emergency stop." There was dead silence on that walkie-talkie, Keith, and nobody. It went on for 10 seconds, and I was like, he goes, "I knew it. I knew it. We're gonna get fired." I go, "Yeah, we probably will over your diarrhea." Can you imagine
Right.
first job ever? He gets back on. He said, "Is this mandatory?" And John went. And I said, "I can't tell you how mandatory it is." "Yes." So we got off. He did his thing. We run. We do that. We do that. That scene driving. And then the next scene is when we pull off into the woods. So we're
Okay.
talking about this. We're not resetting. They got a handheld camera ahead of us in the car. They're going to be there before we are. We're going to drive off into the woods. The camera's already going to be there. We get out in the woods. We've just been to the bathroom. We just filmed the highway scene. Now we're off into the woods, and John said right when we got to the woods, "I got to go to that barn." There was a barn on the
Okay.
property. He gets out of the car. Now they're filming him. He's supposed to get out of the car and get the marshals out.
Right.
He got out of the car and he made a beeline. Now it's funny I'm saying beeline. He made a beeline for the barn. And John, the director, goes, "What are you doing?" And he ran over and he went inside the barn to take care of business. And he got in the middle of a giant bee's nest.
Oh my God.
Oh, and he came running out. They were stinging him, literally. He had done his business and he was pulling his pants up. He was running out of the barn with his pants up and he was doing all this. And we were laughing. Well, the production crew wasn't laughing, but I was on the floor. I was laughing so hard. That was our story. It was a series of misfortunes for us.
Right.
But we later saw it and we thought we were stars. When we saw the
Well,
episode, we thought, yeah, we're on our way, man.
well, Rex, that story alone was worth the $50 a day.
It was for sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to drag that out.
No, no,
But
but
it's so weird you brought it up. I haven't talked about it in 25 or 30 years until John last week texted me and said, "Hey, Lovey." And we started reminiscing on all of these stories.
oh my
Yeah.
God. I thought for sure you were going to say when the cop came, John came out. He's like, "Hey, Rex, I got a big bag full of money."
Oh my God, that would have been, they would have shot him. I can't remember now. It wasn't too long after. I think it was 2 or 3 months. They caught Terry first. They didn't
Oh,
catch
did
them
they?
together. They caught
Yeah.
them separately. I think they caught Terry first, and then they caught Doherty a couple of months later. But boy, they were bad dudes, man. They were and very articulate, very smart. I watched them in the interviews. I mean, they would go to the president's house and treat them nicely, cook for them, have them
Whoa.
all in the living room, and make sure they're okay. And then this is the deal: we're going to your bank at 5 a.m. and you're going to open that safe. If
Yeah.
you don't, it could be bad. Yeah.
That's a very interesting fact for all the people who want to be bank robbers. They should know how to cook.
There you go, baby. That was good. I like that. I'm going to remember. I'm going to steal that from you.
So Rex, so you did other stuff. I would say Cliffhanger was probably the first big movie where you're like, okay, now I can make a living in this business. I mean, because you did a lot of other stuff before Cliffhanger, but that was like where you were the fourth or fifth person on the call sheet, right?
Yep.
So I wanted to ask, how was that audition process like? Like when you got the part, did you think, okay, this is going to change my career?
Okay, it's going to be another kind of a long answer because it's
I
a
love
great
long
story.
answers.
It's a
Yeah.
great story. First of all, I read for Cliffhanger, which really theoretically is my first movie after I moved to Los Angeles in 1990. I read for Cliffhanger for this role, and I'll tell you exactly the dialogue in my first audition.
Okay.
They are ascending to 36,000 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did
I was
great.
reading the radar. They're ascending. Mindy Marin, one of our great casting directors, love her. She goes, "Where are you from?" I said, "Well, I grew up in Texas and Oklahoma." She goes, "Okay, we'll read it again." They are ascending to 36,000 feet. She said, "All right." So that was it. The movie got postponed for financial reasons. So they postponed it for 6 months. Then I go back, um, yeah, several months later, or probably 5 or 6 months. My manager calls and he said, "Hey, you remember the movie Cliffhanger?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "They want you to come back in and read." And I went, "Okay, great." They are ascending at 36,000. I still remember the line. I was kind of laughing about it. He goes, "No, it's not that role.
Oh,
Fax you over some dialogue." Well, back then, Keith, our fax machines in 1991.
right. They took
It
forever to
comes
get to
out,
the
they're rolled
faxes.
up. They
Yeah.
just come out and they're rolled up. So like a scroll. I'm looking at, and there's 5 pages.
Uh,
And I am like, shit, I'm trying to figure out how to keep it open. And I highlight it. And I go to the audition on Sunset Boulevard at Carol Co Productions in a business office. I'm waiting down there. So I'm speculating. Obviously, I was going to read for Mindy Marin again. I get there and Mindy comes down and she gets me. She goes, "All right, look, here's the deal. This role, this is a really good role, and so you're going to be." As we're walking, she's talking. She goes, "You're going to be reading for Sly now." I said, "What? For
uh,
Sly? What do you mean?" Yeah, I go, "What?" Because I didn't. They didn't. They only gave me a night to look at the dialogue. I wasn't really that prepared. I stayed up till midnight, 1 o'clock, going over the dialogue.
now I have a question before you continue. When
Yep.
they said Sly, did you know it was Sylvester, or did you think it was
I
some dude
knew,
named
yeah, I knew
Sly?
immediately because I
Oh,
knew he was a headline. But
okay,
just the fact that she said that,
yeah,
shocked me. I mean, this is on the way to the door where I'm about to read with Sylvester Stallone.
Okay.
Excuse me. So we get in there, and there's Sly. He's smoking a cigar, Cuban cigar, and he's got his feet up on the table. And I swear, man, all I could think about was, it's Rocky. Oh my God, it's Rocky. And I was thinking about, I started eating raw eggs after I saw that movie, and I was thinking about dun 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 dun. Dun. And he put his feet down, put his cigar down. He goes, "Hey, Rex, Sly." And I said, "Sly, Rex Linn." He goes, "Yeah. So, what are your ideas about this?" I said, "Well, I just got this material late last night." He said, "Well, I'll tell you what. Let's just read it. Why don't you just read it? Don't just forget this is an audition. Read it." So I read it. It was terrible. It wasn't terrible. It was just mediocre at best. So I read the dialogue. He said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Texas and Oklahoma." And he said, "Okay, well, that's interesting. Huh. Okay. Read it again." So I read it again, and then I read it again. And he said, "Okay, well, thanks for coming in." I said, "Is there anything else I can do that would change it up or anything?" He said, "No." So I left. Never heard from him.
Uh-huh.
Fast forward about a month. I'm at Warner Brothers on a Friday, and it's raining. And as you know, in Los Angeles, traffic is not great. It's really not great on Friday, and it's really bad when it's raining. Everything.
Right.
I'm at Warner Brothers in overalls. I've got overalls on, and I'm about to audition for a sitcom for Uncle Willie. Okay. And my line in there was, "Hey, Margaret, will you pass a chicken fried steak, please, and get me some gravy too? I like that black pepper gravy." I mean, that's what it was. And there were 10 other bald actors with overalls on in the waiting room.
Right.
Well, the phone rings. The girl answers. She said, "Is there a Rex Linn here?" Well, I was at the time, my mom was very sick, and I in Oklahoma City, and I thought, "Oh my God,
Oh, you thought it was your mom.
oh
Okay.
no!" I said, I'm Rex Linn." She said, "You have an emergency phone call." So I
Oh my
picked it up.
God.
My heart, oh my God, my heart was racing. It's my manager, and he goes, "Where are you?" I said, "Well, what do you mean, where am I? You sent me over. I'm about to read in here for this Margaret pass the damn gravy thing." He said, "Write this address down on La Cienega."
Yeah.
I said, "All right, what is it?" He said, "You're going to go do a screen test with Sly, still on right now." I said, "What?" Long story short, I take myself and my overall self and my farmer peppered gravy self, and I get in the car, and I'm 45 minutes late by the time I get there, and Mindy's there, and she's not happy about that. We go in, and there's Sly in the room. Tony was there as bodyguard, I think. They had the camera and light set up, and I read twice for Sly. And I'll never forget Mindy going, she looked at me when I got there, and it was pouring down rain. She goes, "Why are you wearing overalls?" I had to tell her, I told her the story. I walk in, I'll never forget Sly looking at me like, "Is that his choice for for Travers?
For a henchman?
Is he going to really come in like Richard Travers as an overall dude?" So we read it 3 times, 4 times, I don't know what it was. And then he put his jacket on. He said, "Thank you for coming in." And he started to leave. He said, "By the way, have you ever been to Italy?" And I said, "I have not." He said, "It's a cool place." And they left. And I said, "Mindy, how do you think it went?" She goes, "I don't know how it went." I left.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, on a Sunday, I got a call from my manager. Mindy was on the phone. They connected Sly. Uh, Sly said, "Hey, Rex, this is Sly Stallone." I said, "Hey, Sly." He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, should I be honest or lie to you?" He goes, "Oh, be honest." Well, I was drinking a bunch of beer that day and listening to the Eagles, and I knowing I wouldn't get Cliffhanger. I mean, I hadn't heard. I had a buddy over there who was a screenwriter, and we were talking about how difficult the business was. I said, "Well, I'm drinking beer listening to the Eagles right now." And he goes, "Oh, good deal, man. Yeah, we ought to celebrate. Welcome aboard Cliffhanger." You'll be headed
Whoa.
you'll be headed to Italy in about a week for 6 months.
Yeah.
That's how that audition. So to answer your question, that's a long-winded answer to your question. I didn't think anything after I said they're ascending to 36,000 feet. Of course, I knew that wasn't going to happen. Then the movie's postponed, and then I go in and read for him the first time, but I had to read it. There's no way I'm getting that role. And then I had to come in there in overalls and read again, and I'm just not going to get that role. Ever,
Yeah.
I thought, until that Sunday phone call. And it changed my life in so many ways. It really did. And look here, you see what I'm wearing?
The giant. Whoa. Sure.
Tony Award winning. John Lithgow just won the Tony Award for this play. So Reba and I went up to see him. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I will never forget walking in and seeing John Lithgow for the first time. I was such a giant fan of his. No pun
Yeah.
intended. I was a huge fan of his, and I knew I was going to get to work with an Academy Award winner, and then Sly. It was a great moment for me. John and I immediately hit it off, and we have been dear, dear friends ever since. And
Yeah.
that was a great thing to come from that. In addition to the fact that it put me out there so people could see who I was a little bit, because they didn't try to promote me. I hired a publicist for Cliffhanger, knowing it was going to be a pretty big film because it was kind of Sly's comeback. He had tried the comedy route for a while, and he was getting back to being Stallone kind of. And so I knew it was going to be pretty big. But so my publicist tried to get me on some talk shows and stuff, before it came out, and they were going,
Re-
who,
Rex, if I was
who?
alive back then, I would totally take you. I'd be like, come on down.
Thank you. Well, they
Yeah.
were all going, we'd love to have him, but what's Sly doing? Let's go. And Michael Rooker had just been nominated for playing Henry Lucas.
Yeah.
I mean, Janine Turner was on the cover of TV magazine, People magazine, sexiest woman in television for Northern Exposure. I mean, everybody that worked on it was well known, except
Yeah.
me. Nobody knew anything about me. So, so I never got any publicity before the movie came out, but once it did, it worked out pretty well.
But see, like that's the thing, because like Rex, not to brag, but I'm also a famous myself. I do stand-up comedy, so like we're in the same path of celebrityness, I guess. But that's the thing is like when people want to do movies and stuff, they like, ooh, I want to be work with Sylvester Stallone. But Cliffhanger changed your life not because the movie was great, but because you made a great friend out of John. You know what I mean? So like kind of like you and me, like we are clicking. I feel we'll be friends forever, and this is just an interview. You know what I mean? And I think with
I agree. I agree. And John told me this at the end of Cliffhanger. He said, Rex, I've been around a long time, as you know, and he said, one thing I've learned is if you can it won't happen every project by a long shot. If you can come away from a project with a friend that you know is going to be a lifelong friend, then that project serves its purpose.
exactly.
You were on there to be, you were on that movie for that reason. And
Yeah.
I truly, truly believe that. I really do.
Yeah.
And all
Uh,
these years later, well, I looked at John a couple of weeks ago. We were having dinner Monday night, and then that was the only night he had off from the play. And then we saw the play the next night, but we started reminiscing. And John was looking at me, staring across the table, and I said, "What do you think about it?" He goes, "Ah, the," he goes, "the Dewey Catini." And the Italians over there started calling us, which means the two bad ones. Everywhere we went, Cortina d'Ampezzo, Firenze, Toscana, we filmed. We filmed in Roma. We filmed at Cinecittà Studios. All the Italians would see us together. They knew we were the two bad guys in the movie, so they go, "Due cattivi, due." And so John was just looking across the table a couple of weeks ago in New York, and he goes, "Due cattivi."
oh my god.
It was cool, man. Yeah.
So I kind of want to like transition in a different direction because you've done a lot of westerns, and I love westerns. But one of my favorite westerns, which I I don't think got a lot of like attention, and I don't know why. I think it's one of the best westerns ever. Is this movie called The Jack Bull? And you like first of all, I want you to know Cusack loves you. Like
Oh, really?
when
Oh,
I
great.
when I interviewed Cusack, like that was the first thing. He was like Rex Linn. Like
Oh,
so
I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so
yeah.
glad to hear that.
Yeah. And The Jack Bull is such a fantastic movie because it's not like your typical gun shooting Western. It's about doing what's right. And I think that that's like a very interesting twist for a Western.
Oh, it is for sure. That's why John loved that script so much. And he kept saying, you're so intuitive on your part. He kept bringing up that point. And we filmed that up in Alberta, Canada. I had such a great time on it. But the highlight of that trip
Yeah.
was Cusack. He might have told you or not, I don't know. But we went to see Bob Dylan because John was going to give Dylan after the concert. We had arranged to go back. It was me, it was John. I call it the movie of Johns, the Jack Bull, directed by John Badham, starring John Cusack, John C. McGinley, and John Goodman. So I always call it the movie of Johns.
That's a great name.
Yeah, so all the three Johns were with us except for John Badham, and he was gonna present this script. He wanted Dylan to write a song for. So we were all high, not that kind of high. I stopped doing that in the '70s, but we were so high knowing that we're going to meet Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
And John, we're going to get to experience John trying to somehow convince him to write a song for Jack Bull.
Yeah.
Man, I'll never forget walking back there and Bob Dylan had a white towel. It was wet. He was just cooling off. He had a white towel. He's sitting on this green couch. They always take this couch, I guess. Sitting on
Yeah.
this couch. And he had his book right there of all the lyrics of his songs. That great book. It's old, the original. Just he takes it with him, I guess. And we walked in, and John goes, "Hey, man," he said, "Oh, what a great book." And John has the book. Most people have, a lot of people have it, but John goes, "That's a great book, man." Dylan goes, "I know." Did you hear what I said? Did you hear?
No, but the great
He goes,
book.
"That's a great book, man." And Dylan goes, there's about 5 second silence, and Dylan goes, "Yeah, I know. I wrote it." We were like, it was one of the most wonderful moments right there. It was just, anyway, he loved the script. He's on the movie, wrote the song.
That's such a Cusack thing though, like because Cusack is my personal hero. So like when I interviewed him, like Rex, I gotta be honest with him. I stalked him more than I stalked you. So like
Love it.
he doesn't do interviews, and he finally did it. And then after he said, that's the best interview I've ever done. You know what I mean? And he said he'll do my podcast anytime. So like I like that because he's kind of like me in a weird, mysterious way where like you could tell just by these stories or watching like what he does on screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When did you do that? When did you interview him?
January.
Did he say I haven't talked to him in a while. Does he want to work anymore? Is he working at all or does he
Uh,
want to? Or
I mean, he has a book coming out that he wrote, a graphic novel, but like I kind of keep my friendship with him, private, so I don't want to say too much.
I
But
got
I,
you.
but I will say, when I asked him about the Jack Bull, his first thing he said, Rex Linn. Like so,
Oh,
like
I love it.
so, like it was, and
We had
you,
a blast on that movie. That was fun. It was a good movie, though. It got overlooked, like you said. When I say the Jack Bull, somebody goes, not too long ago, I was doing Stick. I just finished the second season of Stick with Owen Wilson.
yeah,
January it'll be out, I think in November for a second season. I'm not sure exactly the date, but somebody goes, "Hey man, what you've been in westerns, haven't you?" And I said, "Yeah." How many? I said, "Hell, I don't know." Anyway, they looked it up on IMDb. I think it was 13 or something like that. I said, "Oh, I didn't know I've done that many." But I love westerns, and I've been in some really good ones. But the Jack Bull always stood out to me because it was out of the lane. It was outside the lane of a western.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
it was for that reason I really, really liked it, and I was glad to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I thought John was great in it.
Yeah. But like you have so much of these, because I interview a lot of people and I hear some amazing stories about you. Like I interviewed Mark from Rush Hour and he was telling
Mark
me,
Rolston?
yeah, and he was telling me like one of the funniest things because he said when you guys were working together, you guys were like, okay, it's a Jackie Chan script, so we know it's going to be big in the Jackie Chan audience, but no one really knew who Chris Tucker was, so you guys were kind of like, this might just be whatever, just like a C movie. And he said that you gave the idea of instead of calling it like, ooh, Agent, Mark or whatever, you said, let's just call each other by our first names because that's something agents don't do. And he
Yeah.
said that you guys did that on every take and they loved it so much that they kept it.
Yeah, they did.
So I thought, like, that's genius. Like, you know what I
That
mean?
was that was a pretty good idea. You know, it was funny you bring up Mark because he's tough to get to know at first. I mean, Rolston is like a former boxer,
Yeah.
and he's serious about his work. And man, he's a good actor. He's such a good actor, and I learned a lot from him during the course of Rush Hour, which was about 3.5 months. But he was a hard nut to crack at first, and then we all of a sudden we just hit it off, and
Yeah.
we got in trouble 2 or 3 times and laughing. We'd start, and he's not the Mark. You know, he won't come off immediately as a warm and fuzzy dude.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Once you get to know him, he's a sweetheart. He will do anything for you. But we got to the point where we started making each other laugh when we shouldn't have made each other laugh. And at one time, I think Brett Ratner came up, who's directing, and said, "Guys, I think it's funny that y'all like each other, and I think it's funny that you're laughing because laughter is a big part of the world. But stop it." And he turned around, walked off, and Rolston looked at me, and goes, "I guess we better get serious." And I said, "Well, okay." We couldn't. We just kept laughing. We got in trouble several times, but excuse me, he was so great to work with. I ran into him about 3 or 4 months ago at the sushi bar and hadn't seen him in 15 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
we we kind of caught up as much as you can standing at a sushi bar, but I'm glad you got to interview him. And he's talk about work, man. That guy has never stopped working. I don't think. I mean,
Yeah. But I mean, like the point of me bringing that up is like that story of, like I think because, I specialize in comedy. I do stand up. So I kind of understand all forms of comedy. And when you call an FBI agent, if your partner's the first name, there's something very funny about that I don't think the average person, nor if you're an FBI agent, you like, excuse my French, you fucking know that it's funny. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah, sure.
so I'm cracking up because then when I rewatched it, I'm like, oh my God, no wonder these scenes were so funny because no one understands that.
No,
There's a line of respect, like, you know what I mean? And you're just calling each other
yeah.
Dan, and, it's
We
so
were
great.
shocked that they kept it. I thought Ratner was going to go, dude, no, don't call him by his first name. Never said a word, man. Never said a word.
That's so great. And then I wanted to jump into the Zodiac because you did the first Zodiac before they
Yeah,
like remade the Zodiac.
yeah.
And that's very interesting because that's also one of those unsolved mysteries where they've never really know who the real Zodiac is. You know what I mean? And
Still
this
don't.
yeah, and this is a time where the internet's probably popping, so you could do more research and stuff over this
Right.
script and stuff. So I want to know like how is that reading that script and doing your research and stuff like that?
Oh, it was great because I've actually played a serial killer, a real life serial killer. They call it the beauty queen killer, that the guy that I played, but I got so into that. I studied so much. As a matter of fact, I went up there where he was 2 weeks prior to our principal photography and just wanted to visit with people, older people that were around at that time.
Yeah.
I did a lot of research. I talked to a retired homicide detective, a couple of them. I did as much research as I could. I got really into it, Keith, just because I wanted to bring something authentic to the role. And what a, it's such a, you think of all the serial killers that we've had, and he was an anomaly because, I mean, he just, he wasn't like anybody else, except for that he did premeditate, which a lot of them did, but, or have. But just to show up randomly at lakeside places in two or three times in the middle of the day
Yeah.
is it's bizarre. And the fact that they and of course if you go up there in wine country where he was, uh, everybody's got an answer.
Yeah.
I talk to everybody. You go to the gas station, they go, oh, well, it was Bob Sims. I know it was Bob. Okay. How do you know it was Bob? Well, Bob's uncle. You know, there's 1,000 of those stories. Everybody's got an idea who he was. That made it more interesting. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, I loved working on that movie. I love my oh, by the way, speaking of that movie, I always loved I couldn't they wouldn't let me keep it, man. I had these 1967 glasses that kind of horned out that these
Uh-huh.
that these homicide detectives wore at the time. I found out too. So I told them about it and they did the research and they got me a pair of them. I didn't get to keep them, but uh, one of the funniest moments of my career was ironically it's about a serial killer was at the Zodiac. And you know, my character, real life detective, and his partner, they flipped the coin, and my character lost my detective. So in the scene where I dress up like a woman. So they did this for several weekends, where one of the detectives had a wig and breast and dress and everything, and he sat over on this side, the passenger side, and they waited out by these lakes, you know, to see if they've like bait, basically.
Yeah.
Well, Brad Hinkey, God love him, one of our great actors. He just was looking at me when it was about 3 in the morning. He was just in the car. He was just looking at me. We got a picture of this. The still photographer took a picture of this at this moment, and I still have it framed.
Yeah.
I looked, I looked at him seriously. I mean, I had a serious look. We weren't filming, but they were getting ready to roll the camera. The camera's in front of the car, and I just looked over at him with a real serious face. And you know, I've got lipstick and everything. And Brad looked at me. He just went, "You look like you look like such a dork, man. You really look like a dork. You don't even look like you're dressed up to maybe catch a criminal or anything. You look like a dork." And I said, with a straight face, "Thank you, Brad. I appreciate it." And he
Oh,
started laughing, and we couldn't get into the scene. They had Alex, the director, came over. And he goes, "Guys, we're running out of nighttime here because I appreciate everything, but can you, you know." But that story was great. I loved working on that movie, and then of course it got completely covered up by the other Zodiac that came out. You know,
yeah.
which was good. That movie was good too.
Yeah.
I liked
But
it though.
well, what I'm saying is yours is the first. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like Dune or Little Shop of Horrors. Like there was
yeah.
always, you know what I mean? There's always a
You know
first.
what? I saw the movie not too long ago, Keith, and it still holds up. It's not a bad movie. It's not the production that the other one was with Gyllenhaal and all those guys, but it was a good movie. I enjoyed my time on it, and I learned.
Yeah. See, I don't think everyone like when people say like, "Ooh, there's bad movies out there." I don't, and maybe this is just because, apart from the artist's mind, I don't believe there is bad movies out there. I believe there's certain mistakes that could make a movie maybe not so enjoyable or whatever. But like for example, because Rex, not to brag, but I'm also a celebrity. I did a really, really bad movie and I thought the script was terrible, but the editor made it an okay movie. You know what I mean? Where like
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh, they can do that for sure.
yeah. So like I changed my entire opinion about what's bad. I just believe maybe mistakes could make it not so enjoyable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Especially, you know, you brought up westerns before, and this subject matter has always been a problem with Wyatt Earp. I did Wyatt Earp. Okay.
Oh yeah, with Lyndon Ashby.
Yeah. And I got to play Frank McClory, one of the two brothers that died in the OK Corral, directed by Larry Kasdan, starring 20, and I don't like the phrase movie stars, but you got Costner and there's like 20, there could be 20 number ones on that call sheet. All right. And Larry Kasdan wrote the film about Wyatt Earp. He didn't
Yeah,
write it about the OK Corral. He wrote it about Wyatt Earp.
yeah.
Well, because of that, and the length of the film was almost 3 hours, Tombstone killed us at first.
Oh yeah,
It came out a few months prior, like 5 months prior. But that wasn't that target audience for Tombstone was like young males 18 years old because I mean they didn't go I mean I think there were 33 shots fired in 55 seconds or vice versa, whatever it was. That's what we did. It took us 9 days to film it in OK Corral. It wasn't, if you watch Tombstone, the shootout at the OK Corral was about 20 minutes.
yeah,
I mean, it lasted there. People were jumping under water troughs and doing it. No. Those shots came out within 10 feet of each other. My horse got shot 5 times, ran out. I mean, we did it as much as you could do it based on the information you had. Larry tried to make it like that. Well, when both movies came out, when Wyatt Earp came out, my buddies were like, man, the whole shootout at the OK Corral was fast. I said, well, I mean, it only lasted 55 seconds.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, they did come into town, but the day before, Frank and Tom McClory. But I loved Wyatt Earp. But you think about it, and you talk to somebody, and they'll go, "Oh, we love Tombstone. We love Tombstone so much. It was Val Kilmer was great." And I said, "Well, Dennis Quaid, in my opinion, should have gotten the Academy Award for his.
Yeah, yeah.
He was unbelievable in that." But going back to what we're talking about, people would say, "Yeah, Wyatt Earp was not a good movie. Tombstone was great, but Wyatt Earp was." They're two different films. One
Yeah,
of
and
them
it's
is made for a target audience for this. The other one was made about Wyatt Earp, and so I still love Wyatt Earp so
uh,
much.
I have a funny question for you. So when you did Breakdown, did you ever tell Kurt Russell, "Hey, I loved Tombstone"?
No, no. As a matter of fact, how about this? I said, We had a couple of beers one night, and I said, he said, "Were you in?" Somebody told him. He said, "Were you in Wyatt Earp?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Who did you play?" I said, "Frank McClory." So since he did that, this has not been an ongoing joke with Kurt and me for a long time. He said, so who'd you play?" I said, "Frank McClory,
Yeah.
one of the two brothers." He said, "Oh shit, man, that's cool." I said, "Who'd you play?" He said, "What?" I go, "Who'd you play?" I didn't see Tombstone. And he goes, "Bullshit." I said, so that was an ongoing joke. We'd walk up on the set going, "Who'd you play?" "Well, who'd you play?" Yeah, that was an ongoing joke. But by the way, Kurt loved Wyatt Earp too. He thought it was a really good film. So
Oh, it was so great. I mean,
that was another film. You're mentioning films that I have. Breakdown was, I tell you, Kurt Russell, what a stud. I
yeah,
mean, you just can't beat him. He's just a stud. I think that's one of his best performances ever in that movie. I
yeah.
hope you said, did you see the movie?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I watch a lot of film and stuff because I also teach screenwriting. So like I use little samples on certain films. So
Right.
I've probably seen every movie in the world, like Rex. I mean, not to,
I love
you
that.
know. Rex, I want to respect your time, and I know you're not feeling too good, but I have like five more questions. Can I ask these
Of
or?
course.
Oh, okay, cool.
Hell yeah, man.
Um, so this might crack you up a little bit. So you did this movie called Zombie Beavers, and the reason why I bring
Oh,
this
actually, I'm going to have to correct you. It's Zombeavers.
Zombeavers,
Yeah.
okay.
Because I
So
got corrected by the writer slash director several times going, Why am I doing zombie beavers? Well, you're not. You're doing zombeavers. Anyway,
Okay.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Zombeavers. But I wanted to ask you because Jordan Rubin directed that, and when I started stand-up comedy, Jordan Rubin was like the number one star at stand-up. And then he did that movie and he didn't do he hasn't done stand-up since. And
Is that
yeah, I wanted to ask your opinion, like why? Like, is that just something like when people do a movie, they're like, ah, okay, I'm no longer in one form of the art, I'm in a new form, or like how in your
no,
mind,
I don't
what?
I don't even know. I mean, I never discussed that with him. I knew he was stand up. And by the way, he's funny.
Oh, he's so funny.
That dude's funny.
Yeah,
I never even this is the first I've heard that he discontinued stand up. I've never had
yeah,
the conversation with him and I love him. He's a good dude. One of the best things he said to me, and it's the reason I did the movie.
yeah.
I went to meet him. Then it was called the uh,
Ruben.
Jordan Rubin Untitled Project. Let's say that twice in a hurry. So he said, I got in the room with him in the office, and he said, I guess you're probably asking yourself why you would do a movie called Zombeavers. And I said,
Uh-huh.
is that what it's called? I didn't know. And uh, so it's just the Jordan Rubin Untitled Project. And I said, no. I said, well, what what's it about exactly? He said, well, it's about killer beavers.
Uh-huh.
And he just looked at me with a straight face, and I went, and before I could say anything, he goes, and this is the reason I did it. I mean, it really, I'm a horror film freak. I love horror films. I mean, to no end, I love horror films. Have you seen Obsession?
Yes. Oh my God. Whoa. Talk
I-
about switching big into a horror film. Oh my God.
no kidding, man. I've been
Whoa.
crazy. Uh, anyway, I went to see it opening day by myself. Uh,
I would have went with you.
I
Oh my
wish you
God.
would have been here.
Ah,
Uh, so he said it's about killer beavers, and then there was this 5 second vacancy. And I was just looking at him, and before I could say something, he goes, "Let me just ask you this, and I want you to be brutally honest." And I said, "Okay." He said, "When is the last time you did a movie about killer beavers?" And I said, "Never." He goes, "When is the last time you saw a movie about killer beavers?" I said, "I don't think I have." He said, "When's the last time you contemplated playing a deranged mountain man who gets bitten by a beaver and you turn into half man, half killer beaver?" And I said, "What time do we start? What's my call time? I'm sorry, but," he goes, "Well, I don't have a lot of money." I said, "It doesn't matter. What's my call time? If I'm going to be half man, half killer beaver, I want to be." Well, the funny thing is, I got paid very little on the movie, but the overtime was great because Bob, and I nicknamed the big beaver, the big killer beaver, I named him Bob.
yeah.
So his nickname was Bob. He was a very expensive animal, but he didn't work half the time. Like Jaws didn't work half the time. Overtime for me was just fantastic on Zombeavers, but I loved working with Jordan. It was great. Jordan, by the way, he's got some pretty powerful friends, man.
Oh yeah, he's great. Yeah.
The first night I was there, I didn't know who else was in the movie. I knew three girls were in it because the first scene I have are with three girls, the three lead girls. I was sitting out on the side of my trailer. My little bitty trailer is about as wide as this right here. And I was looking at the call sheet and it said John Mayer. And I went, oh, that poor actor. Shit, dude. His parents named him John Mayer.
Yeah.
He's got to fight that for the rest of his life. No, I'm not the musician. So I'm just looking there. And the second AD comes up and he goes, well, it's going to be about 10 minutes. And I said, okay. And I was just looking at the cast. I said, is the rest of the cast here? He said, the girls are here. And I said, it's just you four tonight. And I said, okay. I said, this poor actor down here, John Mayer, don't you know he has to explain that a lot? He goes, it's John Mayer. And I said, I know, I'm looking at it. And I said, I said, don't you know it'd be weird if he's got to say, I know. He goes, no, it's John Mayer, the singer,
It
songwriter.
it's the John Mayer.
And then I look down and I see Bill Burr,
Yeah.
the Bill Burr. He goes, yeah. And I go, what in the world, man? Jordan's had all these people would come to the set and say hi to him. I'm going, ooh, wow.
Uh, Yeah. I toured with Norm Macdonald for 9 years, so like that was kind of like how I got famous, I guess. But
Was
uh
he nice at the time? Can we even ask? Was he a good person?
oh, Norm was the best. I mean, my relationship was like a father-son with him, so like it wasn't all
Love him.
roses and flowers. There was thorns in it, but
Yeah.
he was the best. But that's every relationship, you know what I mean? It's not all, you know.
Yeah.
But when I toured with him, he, you know, because I write scripts and stuff, and like we were always trying to write like like whenever we wrote together, he'd be like, it has to be good for Sandler, you know, like that was like the whole goal. And then he's like, but don't give it to Jordan Rubin because then we'll never do stand up again. So like we're just so like that's kind of like the little joke, and that's kind of how I knew about it. But I respected Jordan so much because he wanted to make his own movie, and he did. You know what I mean? Like
He
that's
did. And he didn't make any qualms about it. He didn't say, he wasn't trying to paint a picture of it other than what it was. He said it's
yeah,
about killer beavers. It's a throwback to 80s slashers. I can't tell you anything else about it. That's what this movie's about. I
yeah,
loved it. The theater, we had the premiere was packed. It became a little cult film on Netflix for quite a while.
yeah.
I loved it. I had friends call me going, dude, what were you thinking? Why are you doing zombie beaver? I said, well, first of all, it's Zombeavers. Uh, and so, people were
You live
asking,
in a PC world. You gotta name it
yeah,
correctly.
I had a blast though. It was so much fun. But I'm telling you, Jordan, he would come up with some stuff like in the middle of the night. He'd go, hey, Rex, I know that I've written this paragraph here, but I'm changing it. I said, okay. Whatever you change it to would be even funnier. And he'd just write a note down, and he goes, here, just say that. Just tape it up on the dashboard if you want. Just say this.
Yeah,
And I read it and I go, well, shit, there's 5 lines here. Give me a little bit. And he said, okay, I'll give you 5 minutes. Just say it. If you have to read it, just, I don't care. Just the changes he made on the spot were hilarious. I mean, the guy, but I'm going to text him because it's interesting. I lost touch with him, but I didn't know that he discontinued stand up. I mean,
don't say I said
oh, I
it.
won't. I won't.
Yeah, whoa, wow, Rex, I don't
No,
need
no, no,
that.
no. I won't bring it up. I'm
Yeah.
just going to ask. I'll just say, what have you been doing? Stand up lately or what?
Yeah, yeah,
I know how to handle that.
yeah. I mean, he could always listen to it and then find out, but yeah. But it's interesting because you tell me that story because I've read a lot of articles about you how like one of your dreams was to like a reason why you wanted to be an actor was to play a wolf man, and now you're playing half man, half beaver. So
Yeah,
like maybe that's kind of like a little
it
birthday
was.
cake to your dream.
It was absolutely,
Yeah. So that I
absolutely.
think that's fantastic. You know what I
People
mean?
people wonder about me, when I say things like my one of my. I'm not throwing names out here. I'm just because he's who he is. Ed Harris is one of my dearest friends. And one time I told, and Ed's obviously, Ed Harris's work. He's a serious actor and all that. He said, if you could play anything you want, one night we were talking. He said, if you could play anything you want, what would it be? And I went, well, I missed the boat on that one because I'm too old for that now anymore. But I said I would give it, and I said it. I was serious. I'd give anything to play the Wolfman.
Yeah.
And Ed looked at me like I might have said, Ed, I don't like your grandmother, and I never have liked your grandmother. And the last picture I saw, she had an earlobe growing out of her forehead. He looked at me so oddly. He goes, "What?" I said, I would like to play the Wolfman." He goes, well, "What do you mean the Wolfman?" I said, "Lon Chaney Jr., the Wolfman."
Yeah.
He goes, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yes, man, I'm serious." He said, "Well, that's interesting." I said, "Well, it's true, and I mean it too. I mean, I would have given anything to play." And of course, if you read those books, People always think, for me, I grew up in a small town in Texas. I liked Westerns and I liked John Wayne, but they didn't influence me. Lon Chaney Jr., Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, Lon Chaney, all those guys. I was mesmerized. And when I was old enough, when my parents, however old that is, in seven, eight, when they made me realize there is no Wolfman. It is an
Yeah.
actor, and they put a mask on him, and he gets paid, and he's a Wolfman. Well, I
Yeah.
thought, oh my God, that's what I want to be. And that's where my first influence started was the original Wolfman. And then Clayton Moore comes out and he's the Lone Ranger. He's got a mask on. He's a cowboy. I liked him. And then, of course, the whole world blew up when I saw Batman the first time. I'm just telling you. And luckily,
The Adam West one or the
Adam West,
Oh, okay.
you were a cell somewhere in the universe. You were a sperm cell. Uh, I got the opportunity to meet Adam West at a CBS uh, publicity gathering. We were doing CSI Miami at the time. There was Adam West at this. Was talking to four women. I will never forget this. All I had glass of white wine. I had my publicist with me. That sounds snotty, but I just hired her. She was very young, and I said, "Oh my God, Adam West is here!" And I just freaked out, Keith. I was like, I got to figure out what to say to him without bringing up Batman because you don't want to, you can't bring up Batman. You can't.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just like everybody else, and he's going to say the same blanket response. So she didn't know who he was. And I said, Adam West is standing right over there. I got to think about, I'm going to go get a beer and think about what I'm going to say to him. She goes, who is he? I said, it's Adam West.
Yeah.
She said, I'm sorry, I don't know who he is. And I said, that's the original Batman. And she goes, okay, why don't you just let me go up and introduce? I said, you can't just walk up to him. And she goes, yeah, you can. I said, no, I'm not going to. It took me an hour to figure out what I was going to say to him. When I found the opening, I did. Went over, Mr. West, my name is Rex Linn. He said, my name is Adam, not Mr. West. And I said, okay. I said, I just wanted to let you know I have probably five influences in my life, and you're one of them. He said, who are the others? He smiled and goes, who are the others? And I said, my dad, my basketball coach in high school, Jack Nicholson. He's my favorite actor of all time, and my football coach and in high school. I said, and you. And so I just wanted to come here and say thank you. I am a fellow thespian, and I thought he'd enjoy that word, thespian. And I said, so I just wanted. He goes, well, you want a glass of wine? I said, yes. Yeah. So we got a glass of wine, and we talked about his career. We talked about my career. He asked me where he wanted to know where I grew up, how many siblings I had. He was a stud, man.
Yeah.
When he got to the point in his career where Batman came up, I'm not kidding you. In the 40 minutes we talked, the word Batman never came up. He referred to it as the series. He said, matter of fact, I did a film with Rod Steiger. He's talking about all this serious work. He'd done a lot of serious work, man. And he goes, and then my life changed and I did the series. And then after that, uh, unfortunately, I guess, and unfortunately, but he said, for better or for worse, I was just married to the Cape after that. So I had to deal with that for the rest of my life. That's all that was ever brought up about Batman.
I mean, so that's very interesting because I'm on the spectrum, and growing up I was very nonverbal, and I've always been fascinated with movies and storytelling. And then when I started getting a podcast, like, this is one of the things actually Norm told me, is like, when you talk to people, don't bring up their hits, because everyone always probably asks that. You want to be who you are, unique, and ask them about something that no one really asks about them, and that'll get their attention and you'll stick in their mind. So it's kind of like what you said, not bringing up Batman with Adam West. You bring up, I don't know, something that maybe not a lot of hardcore Adam West people have seen. and
Right.
then you kind of build the cake like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because, he's heard that a million times. No,
Yeah,
we love you, Batman. Okay, great. Yeah.
yeah. Well, Rex,
Exactly.
I have three more questions. I really want to respect your time, though, so I don't want to overbound
You just keep going. I'll let you know.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about Lethal Weapon because I thought, for the folks at home, like they made a TV show about Lethal Weapon, and I thought your character was so, like, I, I'm just gonna be honest, very mean, and I wanted to know, like, how did you kind of like that's a transforming as you as an actor because you're not that guy at all. And I always believe like in acting, there it doesn't have to always be true, but there has to be 1% truth to get into a character from you. Does that make sense? And I wanted
Yes.
to know like how did you kind of do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. First of all, I wanted to help me get to that point.
Yeah.
And I've requested many times. Rarely is it ever given to me, but I wanted to change my look. I wanted a comb over. I hate comb overs. I see men with comb overs and I go, dude, come on, just comb it back. It's fine. Just
Yeah.
comb the shit back. It's fine. And or look at their wives and go, do you love him? Get that comb over. For this character, I wanted a comb over, and I knew that they were going to have a flashback of me getting shot, and they were going to put a little scar on my face. Well, that initial scar was not much. I said, I want a comb over, a greasy comb over. And if you could really, I love prosthetics and stuff. Can we really get into it? And
Yeah.
they said yes. I got the coolest comb over, ugly as hell. So that scar was fantastic. Took 2 hours every morning. And that helped me get into that mind frame. And quite honestly, I've had my heart broken more than once. And there was one particular girl a long time ago. I mean, decades.
Yeah.
Uh, I started thinking about her and how she broke my heart. I don't know why I did, but I had to go somewhere, some sort of emotional recall to get into that character because I mean, his dad was a child abuser, a pill popper,
Yeah.
alcoholic, and he's a mechanic in South Texas. So, I mean, I wanted to be mean as I could be. And I started thinking about how I felt about when I had my heart broken that time, and I hadn't even thought about it in years. I started thinking about the way it ended and everything, and I started using that a little bit, and then it got better and better and better. And I just kept using it, and that was kind of what I was thinking about the whole time I was there
Wow.
to get into that mind frame. Like
Yeah.
it was a really bad heartbreak. It was like I was just it was one of those bad ones. And I was treated very badly. Somehow I got to regurgitate that, and it worked on Lethal Weapon.
So like what you're saying is like you took that experience of if you did drink and do those pills, like how would your life have been? And you took that one glimpse into that character over this heartbreak.
Exactly what I did.
Wow, that's so
Which by the way includes a lot of emotions in itself. So frustration, confidence,
yeah.
insecurity, vulnerability, anger, a lot of anger, and then it just all those things so I just tried to use that as much as I could.
Yeah. The only bright side is if you weren't an actor, you would have been a mechanic,
There you go.
right?
And probably a pill popper and an alcoholic.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean,
All that
you
other,
get
yeah.
chicks dig guys who fix cars, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
oh
all.
yeah. I had a great experience on Lethal Weapon. It was fun for me. I loved working with Clayne Crawford. Really great actor.
Uh-huh. All right, so these last two questions, the first one's just kind of fast. The last one's kind of more in depth. Rex, I wanted to ask you, does Melissa Peterman owe you any favors?
Probably a lot.
Okay, excellent. Cool.
Yeah, probably a lot.
Okay. If you could recommend me, that would be great.
Now, wait a minute. You tried to get her?
Yeah. But just if you could just throw in a recommendation, I'll send
Well,
in
yeah,
another
well, you got to
request.
let me know that you're trying to get her now that I
Oh,
know.
okay. Okay, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
now that I know, I'm going to make sure she does it.
Oh, okay, you're the best. All right,
I just
cool.
got a text from her a minute ago. She just texted me, showed me she got the coolest dog on the planet named Elvis,
Yeah.
and I'm a dog freak. So she just texted me. I will
She
make
she's
sure
so funny. She's like,
she's
oh
the
my
best.
God. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but speaking of favors, I wanted to ask you this. I obviously can't predict my career. All I could do is try. But if I ever become like a huge successful uh movie star or TV star, what is one favor I could do for you that like no one's really ever done for you as an actor that I could do for you to pay this forward?
Ask the question one more time.
Oh, what is if I ever become like a huge star like John Cusack?
Okay.
What is a favor I could do for Rex Linn? Like, can I donate to a charity, or can I put you in the Jack Bull too, or what can I do to make Rex Linn happy?
Put me in your next film. Stay with me.
Okay,
In your next film, find out a way that I can put on a Wolfman mask out of focus in the background, even if it's a modern day, if it could be a rom-com, whatever. It doesn't
okay,
make.
okay.
I just want to be the Wolfman, even if it's out of focus. Just let me be the Wolfman.
All right.
I could
You
be
have
walking across the street in one frame of the show, but if as long as I got a Wolfman mask on, that'd be my favorite.
You have my word. If I ever get like a sitcom, I'll bring you in as a guest star. I'll be like, "Oh, this is old man Riley. He wants to be the wolf man, and we'll dress you
Yeah,
as a wolf."
baby.
And you just walk in and you just be like, "Rawr."
I love it. That'd be
Right?
my favorite, I'd ask.
Uh, well, Rex, I really appreciate you. I'm a huge admirer of your work, and I'm glad we're friends, and I'm glad you said yes. So thank you so much.
Thank you so, and thanks for the cameo.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
really meant it as a heartfelt. I didn't
it
mean
was
it as
just brilliant, brilliant. And it's just because of that, we are going to be friends for life. And I'll get Melissa on the line, tell her to get with you right away. And by the way, let me just say this to end this. What you do, not this podcast, you're great at podcasts. Stand-up comedy is one of the most difficult professions anybody could ever pursue. In my
yeah.
opinion. I've watched it. I have friends that are in it. It's I admire you to no end. And isn't it a great feeling though when you get people, you say something that you've created and people laugh?
Yeah. I mean,
Really, almost nothing like that feeling. And I can't
yeah.
imagine what it would be like to stand on a stage and do your material and have people react to it and laugh.
Oh,
And
I
I
could
know it's a
imagine.
tough profession.
I could imagine you doing it because you're an amazing storyteller. I mean, like all you go upstage. You should open up for me one night just to try it. I think that would be great. And you just tell your
What if they
unsolved
what if they
unsolved.
booed me and shit? What if they start throwing stuff?
Rex, you can't think like that. You said it
Okay.
yourself. You gotta be confident, and the worst thing that's gonna happen is you just won't do it again. Like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, that's just
Yeah.
the worst thing. You know what I mean? So
Well, you know,
like,
it's interesting because real quickly along this line, I told you I worked on uh, um, Stick. So I talked to Mark Maron for quite a while. I had several scenes with him, had a lot of scenes with Mark, but
it,
he was working on new material. So on weekends, he would travel to a small venue and test the new material.
yeah,
And one night, it was just Mark and I. I don't know Mark very well, and we didn't get close or anything during the filming, but he was over there looking at his phone and studying. I said, "Did you test your new material out last week?" He said, "Yeah, I did in my hometown of Albuquerque." I said, "How'd it go?" And he went, "That's what he did. He didn't verbalize anything. He just went."
yeah,
I said, "Well, is it scary doing that?" He said, "Hell yeah, it's scary. You got new material. They're expecting something else. I'm giving them something else." But he said, "It's going to work out." And I said, "It's tough, isn't it?" And he goes, "Well, you just have to get out there to realize how tough it can be, but
yeah.
it's, it is." So I was just thinking about that. But so anyway, I just want to commend you and on that.
Well, we're going to make your dreams come true, Rex. We're going to have you open up for me. You're going to tell the unsolved mystery story, and then you're going to be like, hold on, there's a special guest in the house. I'm going to introduce him. You're going to leave. You're going to come back dressed as a Wolfman, and you're going to be like, rah! We're going to film it. I'm going to send you
Oh,
that, and it's going to make your dream come true of doing comedy and being a Wolfman.
I love you, brother.
All right, Rex. Well, have a great day, buddy. I
I'll
thank you
see you
so
down
much.
the road.
All right.
Okay, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, Rex Linn. I
Okay, bye
appreciate
bye.
you.
Bye
All
bye.
right, guys. That was the episode. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you guys next week on Reza Rifts.